The prequel to next-gen console wars has begun!
And it's all about dev kits, folks.
Hot take!
Developers.
We're still a ways out from the next generation of consoles. Your PS5s and your Xbox...
Oh, I want to say Scarlett or 2.
Your 720s.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
But people are talking about these consoles like crazy. And we are, in the coming months until holiday 2020, there's going to be so much to talk about. Now, people are talking about dev kits.
Okay. You want to know why? Because there's a lot of dev kits out there, apparently.
Well, we just had a conversation as well about a photo of a couple of dev kits, PlayStation 5 dev kits in particular, that was posted by the Drunk Cat.
Yes, and we got lots of messages from you telling us that this is actually a V-shaped system, which is the Roman numeral for 5. We get that now. Thanks for the comments.
We've known it. We've known it for a while. But more importantly, we talked about how, yes, these dev kits are out in the wild. It seems like developers are being a little frivolous with people, taking photos of them. Could have been a DualShock 5 there and stuff. A lot of people were asking about that hardware in particular. But in the Twitter thread, people were starting to talk about the competitors' dev kits as well.
That's true.
Yeah, so Tom Warren from The Verge was basically asked, it was asked, what's happening with the Xbox dev kit? And then Tom Warren replied, hardly anyone has them, and they're nowhere near final. That's why you're hearing a lot of nonsense about them, and not about them not being powerful, etc. Microsoft wants to surprise Sony this time.
Yeah. Now, this is something to really take with one big grain of salt.
Are we doing this again?
I think we are, yes.
Okay, we have an official grain of salt officer.
Yep.
Let's bring Saltine out here. Saltine. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So anything we're about to say, just take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. So, folks, let's just take this into consideration, okay? We have not actually seen an Xbox 2 dev kit, but we've seen plenty of PlayStation 5 dev kits just all over the world because we've been seeing these pictures. We didn't know if they were accurate or not. In fact, that last picture we just showed not only showed 1, but 2, so we can guarantee that developers are getting a lot of these things around. But when it comes to Microsoft, it has been a lot more kind of strange.
So you had a sort of theory before, was that we weren't seeing these products, and this is actually what Tom Warren was talking about as well, because Microsoft has a strategy, and this strategy is the act of surprise. So what was your idea before? What do you think?
The concept was that, okay, they're going to announce, Sony's going to announce their PlayStation 5. They're going to announce the specs. They're going to show everything off. And then Microsoft is going to rush in an hour later and go, we're going to double those specs. We're going to have better specs.
And undercut that price or something. Because historically, we've seen these companies do that and get a lot of headlines and a lot of people cheering and stuff. A lot of people talking about these systems because of that.
Yes. Now, that could still be a thing. However, I would like to make this nice and clear. I do not know Tom Warren very well. I imagine he knows quite a lot about the industry, but that's not a good quote to have said. That doesn't make any sense. And one of the reasons why it doesn't make sense is you can release a dev kit early on that doesn't have the official up-to-date specs that you would find on a regular system that gets sold. For instance, they could just give you a dev kit that basically has kind of almost finished.
They can give you a dev kit that has the bare minimum of tech inside of it. And very much that's kind of historically what's happened. Usually you get a finalized sort of dev kit console a few months before the console would be released, maybe like 6 months or so.
Yeah.
And we'd seen that previously. So yeah, that's very likely to happen here.
Yeah, so just because we're not seeing them doesn't mean that they're trying to hide the specs from the developers. The developers, by the way, need to know the specs because they're developing games on this mystery new system.
So, okay, Jason Schreier over on Reset Era kind of replied to what Tom Warren had said within this Twitter thread, saying, not sure if the trying to surprise Sony part is quite right. So, maybe there's not so much weight to that. Common sense would suggest that, like with the Xbox One, Microsoft is just running behind schedule and will launch pretty hot. But I've talked to a few third-party developers who said that they were frustrated by the lack of info on Scarlett, especially compared to the Prospero. And Prospero is the code name for the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, so here's something to keep in mind, all right, folks? Jason Schreier is comparing this to the Xbox One launch.
Uh-oh.
That ain't good.
That's not good.
No, because see, when the Xbox One launched, there were very few games, and the games that were there didn't run all that well. well, and then the system ended up changing dramatically from one section to the next. We can only assume that that's not going to happen. For those of you that don't remember, the Xbox One initially, when you got it, had to have this huge update to basically kill a lot of the features that Microsoft was initially trying to do, like discs that could only be used once or something, and just weird stuff.
Yeah, the sharing was an issue, and we've talked about this so many times, and Connect. But it sounds like they're very much laser focused on providing a gaming system this time, not an entertainment package, which was what they were trying to get out before. So recently, Phil Spencer said in an interview with, I believe it was Eurogamer at XO19, he had spoken about how the dev consoles were just shipping.
Yes.
So I guess, and that was November.
Yeah.
Right? So it does seem like these are getting out later. We saw Prospero, or PlayStation 5 dev kits. The first sort of leaked image came out in October. So Sony has a head start as far as the head of Xbox is concerned. He himself said that.
And look, folks, because we haven't seen any dev kits from Microsoft doesn't mean that they're not out there. It just means that maybe they've been sent out, but they've been sent out to first-party companies.
Yes.
Now, what's interesting is Microsoft has purchased a lot of companies recently, so there could be theoretically 10 of these dev kits out to these specific developers. But at least in the one image we've seen of the PlayStation 5 where they have 2 dev kits, we can assume that if one company has 2, there's probably a lot more out there. Just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the fact that we've been seeing more than one image of this dev kit in the wild leads me to believe that this has been out there for a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, these are third-party companies that I assume, like last time we said, just kind of shrug at people taking pictures of their dev kits and stuff. So it seems like Sony is being a little more, like, trying to be a little more all-encompassing with getting these things out to everyone. So how could this be problematic for this next generation of Xbox consoles if these dev kits are not getting out like as quickly as the Sony dev kits are getting out? Why is this a problem?
Well, there are several issues why this could be a big issue. Now, first off, several issues why this could be a big issue. That was
several reasons why this could be a big issue.
Okay, number one. If you do not have finalized specs on a system and you don't really know what the system's going to be like, making games on it can be very difficult. Number two, let's say you do end up going, okay, we're going to beat the specs of the PlayStation, so you just at the last minute, stuff a bunch of hardware into the thing as quick as you can to kind of make it better. That can cause issues with overheating and thermals, which, by the way, Microsoft very familiar with. Those are problems that can cause larger issues down the line.
You reminded me of the Saturn launch as well. Remember when they were like, oh, we don't want to make a 2D powerhouse anymore. This should be a 3D console.
Yep.
And they just kind of loaded it with another processor and things.
Yeah.
And it was just a complete mess to develop for, right?
See, these are the problems that you have. At least what we're seeing from Sony is that not only do they know what the PlayStation 5 is going to be, they have a clear drive for it, and they've been developing games for it for a while because Sony's been relatively silent. But when it comes to Microsoft, unfortunately, again, like many times we've had issues in the past, their messaging about things is so confusing, and likely that confusing messaging is also going to developers as well. Although this is all heavily rumored, we can just assume from what everyone's saying right now that developers likely are not having the best of time developing on the system.
Okay, so there's right now the Sony PlayStation 5 is out there to developers, and it seems like to several third-party developers. Let's say, for example, like you mentioned, maybe this is the Scarlett dev kit has been out, but only within the first-party sort of developers. Now, Xbox has bought up several developers just recently. Obsidian, of course, Undead Labs, In Exile. There's quite a large list and an umbrella of interesting developers there. Could the dev kits being in the hands of this sort of new school collective that Microsoft has, could that be okay for them without this being out into other third-party developers' paws? Like, could this still work out for them with these teams?
So unfortunately, if you were to ask me that opinion, I would have to say no. This is not a good spot for them to be in. Now, look, when it comes to Sony, Sony is going to be bringing powerhouse franchises that they've already established as successes in the previous generation. We're talking about another God of War. We're talking about another Horizon Zero Dawn. We're talking about another Spider-Man.
Yeah, we just heard some kind of, again, grain of salt. We don't need saltine again, but Spider-Man 2 is in development. And of course it is. It made so much money. And so we have all of this to look forward to going into the next gen of PlayStation consoles. But for Microsoft, what's going on?
Unfortunately, that's the problem. You see, unlike the franchises we're talking about that sold very well, Microsoft has had a downturn in sales due to the Xbox One. So we're talking about Halo not doing so well the past couple of entries. We're talking about Gears of War not doing so well.
Now, Gears of War 5, the numbers were good,
Yes.
but we have to take into consideration the climate of those numbers and the platforms on which they were released. Gears of War was on Xbox Game Pass, and there's so many weird things come into that. It could have done really well. I'm not saying it didn't.
The thing is, what the traditional numbers we used to use in the past to gauge how well a game was performing have been in flux over at Microsoft because they have Games Pass. So for instance, you might have 1 million players, but those 1 million players maybe didn't actually buy the game because they just have the pass. There are a lot of issues that go into that, but one thing we can confirm, because we have seen a bunch of variations of numbers, and just from the idea that we know how many people are out there actually buying Xbox Ones, Xbox games are not selling that well. The console isn't selling that well, and because of that, it has put a downturn on all of their franchises. Entering into the next system with the Xbox 2 or the Scarlett, you're basically going to be looking at this platform going, okay, what do I want to play? A franchise I haven't bought in a couple of years, another franchise I haven't bought in a couple of years, where Sony is going in with power, huge games. Microsoft is going in with very less.
Right. It seems like many of the franchises that could be brought over into the next gen of consoles, they've begun to lose their luster a bit, even to the point where Halo, which was the title for the longest time, that was the killer app for like every single Xbox console, people, like, there seems to be not as much excitement and troubled waters for the development of Halo Infinite. Right?
Yeah, and that's kind of a story for many of the development companies out there that are working with Microsoft. Look, when we talk about excitement about the companies that they purchased recently we're talking about Obsidian, a huge, amazing company that recently just released a fantastic game called The Outer Worlds. The problem, though, is that the game is available on a lot of platforms. It's not just Microsoft's Xbox, and they just got that done. We're talking about a company now releasing another game. Now, they already showed off Grounded.
Yeah, Grounded, which seems to have elements that are maybe less like what you would want to see from an Obsidian game. It could still be a great game because they are wonderful and talented developers.
Absolutely.
But it seems more like a sort of Fortnite survival building style of game.
Many of the other companies that they've also purchased are still working on games or have released games on other platforms.
Ninja Theory with Bleeding Edge, Mojang with Minecraft Dungeons. There's still several other developers under their umbrella that are probably making great things that we haven't seen yet, but it
means they're busy.
Right.
That's what it means, right? It means they already have things in the,
it would be nice for them to dust out just a little bit of information, even just a splash screen of a title or a couple of images, just to build up a little more interest in what is the next gen. Right now, all we know is that Phil Spencer said, we're not going to get caught with our pants down on this one. We're going to have, a good price point. We're going to have a powerful machine, and we're going to be ready to go at it. We've seen some videos talking about the hardware, showing off some motherboards and tech, but there's nothing solidified. Now, with PlayStation, you have Mark Cerny going out there interviewing, being interviewed, showing off the actual product, behind closed doors. That gets people talking. That gets people more excited. The games you mentioned, another Spider-Man game, a Ghost of Tsushima possibly being on the next platform. Those are things that people are looking forward to. We don't have as much with the Xbox Scarlett.
And these exclusive companies that they've already picked up, like we're talking about Double Fine and stuff like that, those companies are releasing games that are likely going to be available on other platforms for a little bit because they already have those pre-established connections and agreements that they can't break just because Microsoft bought them.
What could they do, though, Shane? I mean, these, like I said, these are very talented developers. What does Microsoft have that they could make use of to build up this next gen of consoles? If we're seeing titles like Halo, I don't know, maybe the next Halo title could be huge.
It could
but
be,
if things continue to dip, what could these new developers bring to the table?
Well, what I'm thinking of right now is basically kind of a twofold tactic. Now, what we saw with Sony was Spider-Man did very well. Spider-Man's a very big property. There's tons of movies, there's TV shows, comics. You know what Spider-Man is. And that game happens to be just a really good game that utilizes a property that's also popular. So Microsoft could probably try and do the same thing. Now, I'm not saying they work with Marvel because Sony really seems to have that locked down. They've got an Iron Man game coming out to PlayStation VR, and then Square showed off their new Marvel game.
The Avengers.
The Avengers. So I don't know if they're going to be able to kind of pull from that, but they should look into other sectors, other games that people are very excited about and bringing those things in. For instance, Microsoft does own Rare.
Yeah.
Now, let me just say this. We saw Banjo-Kazooie recently show up in a brand new DLC pack for Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Right? And people were crazy excited. A lot of people really want a brand new game, but the problem is, if a brand new game were to be announced and done by Rare, this isn't to really knock Rare, but Rare isn't the same company they were in the past, and I think many of the games they've released recently have been in such flux that it's really hard to lock them down.
Yeah, I would say that they lost the sort of magical luster that those games used to have. Like, almost like, I would get the same feeling I would have of seeing like a new, like proper Nintendo title when they were working with Nintendo. There was that luster, right? Now, what is it? The pirate game, Sea of Thieves. It's in all reports, it's getting better.
Yeah,
and there's more content. But it doesn't have that same magic.
Yeah.
But a company like Double Fine,
that's right.
What could they do?
Double Fine could probably do a brand new Banjo-Kazooie game. We're not saying that this is actually going to happen. There's no rumors about that out there. What we're talking about though is pairing the companies they've purchased with other IPs that they can work together with and make something interesting.
Yes, we're not specifically targeting this as being a thing, but what you're saying is that Microsoft has a way of getting IP that maybe people have forgotten about or have just really wanted it back. They have a very easy way of connecting the dots between very talented developers and great properties.
That's right, yeah. So we're talking about recreating or making either a reboot or a continuation of Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, at this point with nuts and bolts, maybe a reboot's a smart thing to do. A new Conquer game. You own Rare, so you own a lot of properties there that make a lot of sense, but why not dive out of that and also get other things? Possibly the 007 franchise could have new games exclusive to the platform.
That'd be a hard get.
It would be.
And it'd be weird.
But it really would be. That's the thing, though. Think crazy like that. Microsoft has the money, and they're willing to go out and do a lot of things. They could go to Disney, purchase some franchises. They could try and get other things. Like, as strange as it is, I'm not saying I want this to happen, but Microsoft could theoretically go to a company that has a long-standing series of games or some popular franchise in television or movies, buy it and go, okay, we're going to make an exclusive line of games. We're going to be signed up for 3 titles. We want to do this for this platform, and we want to bring people over. You've got Obsidian. Buy the South Park IP for 3 games and let Obsidian make more South Park style games. The first one they did was fantastic. And there was a second one that was also really good, though they didn't actually make it. I'm not saying buy Fallout. I don't think they're going to be capable of doing that.
I mean, even if they just carry over the Outer Worlds onto the next platform of Xbox, that would be huge if it was on console, only on Xbox.
That's true, yes.
But I mean, like, we're just kind of hoping, I guess, we're brainstorming a lot here, but we're hoping that the developers, the first-party developers that we're assuming have these dev kits are working hard on possibly reviving IP or having other great ideas that no one knows about that Microsoft is just going to come out of nowhere, scare us with at some big event. We'll be like, okay, finally, we get it. You were saying for the longest time that you're building up something great and you finally have proof. I hope we have that moment where we're like, this is it. This is what they were planning.
This really has to be it. Yeah. I mean, they have to kind of lock down some franchises. They have to get some ideas in play, but they have to make some hype, because if you just run in showing Halo 5, there's a lot of people out there that just don't care about Halo anymore, and not because they don't want to, but because the last couple of games didn't do quite well. So that's not necessarily going to bring people to buy a new system. Did Halo, the most recent Halo, actually...
I think the most recent Halo was 5.
I meant Halo 6 or Infinite. Infinite. Did Halo 5 bring people to Xbox One? No, it didn't. Did the new Gears of War games bring people to Xbox One? No, it didn't. Did the Forza games bring people to Xbox One? No, it didn't.
It's kind of keeping the people that love those franchises there. They're not bad games.
No, they're not.
Everything you've mentioned is not bad, but it seems like the growth potential, it's not meeting its potential.
Yeah, I'm thinking Microsoft needs to purchase some long dead and dormant franchises, bring them back. They still have to make new franchises too. That's always very important, but they need something that's going to bring people into the fold, and then you can go, okay, you got the system, you bought it for this, now here's some other cool things that are exclusive to the platform, because that's the kind of stuff that works. If PlayStation 4 only had Horizon Zero Dawn, it wouldn't have sold the system. It had to have other games that people were aware of.
Yep, and it sounds like not only are they going to have franchises like that and more franchises coming into the future for the PS5, but third-party developers have their hands on these kits, so who knows what's going to be coming from other studios as well.
Yep.
So this is a war, all right, man.
It is.
It's going
to be crazy.
It sounds like we're hearing a lot from one company, not so much from another. But I still feel like despite Sony, the PlayStation folks being out there and showing their cards a little bit, there's still a lot of things that we don't know. And that will be revealed in the coming months. And I'm looking forward to having more conversations about that.
Same.
Yeah.
So folks, what do you think? Does the dev kit issue going on with Microsoft that is in fact a rumor right now, does that sound like it'd be something that's real? Do you think that Microsoft's a little bit better off than most people assume?
Yeah, let us know in the comments below.